The first batch of the Oakland-class light cruisers has been completed, so we can start sending them out to patrol the more outlying reaches. I think the Eastern Fleet is in New York, so we'll move them to Guantanamo Bay for the time being, and that will be the Fresno and the San Diego. And the rest of them is probably... No, it's not in San Francisco. Where have I parked them? San Diego, yeah. There's the Oakland and her sisters, the Cabot and the Roanoke. And we will move those. Let's see where we can position them. Probably a little bit more along the outlying islands that we need to defend. Although we do have to be somewhat careful with the amount of... With the amount of port space they're controlling, I think we might actually send them to Manila Bay for starters. So let's just have these three moving out and move them over to Manila. And if things get interesting, we can always start moving out from these positions. But that bolsters our Pacific Fleet somewhat with these scout cruisers. And yeah, we'll see what comes up next. For now, politics are remaining relatively stable. Obviously, Japan and the trouble in Europe brewing, but no major conflict in sight as of this point. Tensions in South America have come to a boiling point. The Japanese advisors that have been spotted in Colombia have now been also seen in Venezuela and spotted in the streets of Maracaibo and discussing with Venezuelan politicians about further integration and support with oil and other resources for the Japanese empire. The Monroe Doctrine has to be defended, and it looks like it will have to be defended by force. As such, the American government has decided to launch an invasion towards Venezuela. We are going to need a lot of firepower, and we will bring all the fleet that we can possibly gather to support the landings and the invasion and eventual pacification of Venezuela, and hopefully set a signal to the world that South America is not to be messed with. To support this massive endeavor, we have not just brought the Atlantic Fleet, but we'll also be bringing the Mississippi out of San Francisco with some escort ships through the Panama Canal. The whole fleet will congregate in the Caribbean off the coast and then support the transport ships on their landing between Maracaibo and Puerto Cabello, and we will see how much resistance Venezuela is going to be able to mount, and if this police action can finally eject the Japanese influence from South America. Fortunately, some of the newly launched ships for our allies have brought new funds into our empty coffers, and that means we can start increasing the expenses again for research and crew training, and hopefully accelerate these a little bit. At the same time, we're not going to just start building new ships for ourselves yet. We do have a couple of new developments: quintuple torpedoes, we've got better Mark V guns, and we've got better anti-submarine warfare with active sonar. So it sounds like a new generation of destroyers is in order. But we'll gather the fleet first off the coast of Venezuela before we start looking into that. In April 1922, most of the American fleet has been assembled in the Caribbean. We have the Nevada, the New York, the Oklahoma, the Texas, and the USS Mississippi is just coming in from the Pacific Fleet together with all their escorts, and we've got several submarines screening their flanks to make sure that nothing gets past and attacks the transport ships. We will move these ships into position and let the invasion begin. We have assembled a grand total of 184,000 tons. It's predicted to take 9 months to complete the invasion, depose of the treacherous Venezuelan government, and arrest the Japanese officers who have been working to destabilize South America and bring up the local governments against us. In the meantime, we are going to design ourselves a new destroyer, I'd say. The last one we've done was the Porter class. No, sorry, I think the last one we've done was the Farragut class. So let's see what kind of follow-up we can build. I'm thinking something a little smaller and cheaper that we can build in relatively large numbers. That is pretty good at minesweeping, anti-submarine warfare, but still has somewhat of a capability of of sailing with the fleet and of fleet screening and defense. Now, given that the Americans were mostly using Flower-class corvettes during World War II, we'll see what we can do with a small modern destroyer. And we're going to be relatively free in terms of naming these things, so well, we'll do what we can with it. So I am thinking 1,500 tons, relatively small. I can't even go that small. 1,650 is the smallest I can go. My main interest is, let's see, not so much speed. These things, well, let's go with 33 knots. Standard crew quarters. But I am interested in mine laying, mine sweeping, depth charges. And we're going to stick a main tower on it. See what we can find that fits. This should do the trick. And that should allow us to put sonar. So these will have active sonar. They will have some combat capabilities, but they're not fleet destroyers. So let's see. We might even put a somewhat smaller main tower onto it. We are going to need a simple rear tower. There we go. We're going to need, we're going to go with oil fuel, natural boilers, gear turbine engines, and they can have, that's enough. So a medium standard funnel is sufficient. That's going to give it a forward weight offset, but we can put a quintuple torpedo launcher under this thing. That will give it, we're going to have to make that 21 inch though, once it's on. That'll give it some capability to still fight, and we're going to put some of these brand new 5-inch twins on there. So we've got these should be these are the Mark IV 5-inch 38 Mark IV twins. We might just put a single turret forward, and we can put a single turret rear. That gives us a little bit of an aft weight offset, but all in all, that's a very cheap little, relatively modern, but I'm gonna call it a corvette, almost, with 4 guns, 1 quintuple torpedo launcher. We do want to make that 21 inch. There we go. And then some auxiliary diesel should be sufficient. Yeah, we don't need ship floors. Yeah, decent propeller shaft. They can go with an unbalanced rudder and just a regular hydraulic steering. Just keeping an eye on the cost. We don't have any barbettes, so I'm not sure. This might just be the turret rings. Definitely a double bottom hull, slightly reinforced, and slightly anti-flooding. We don't have any torpedo protection. Can't get any if we do this. If we put modern armor on, Krupp 3 should be sufficient. 30 million. What's the cost that we currently have for the Porters and the Farraguts? Farraguts 60 million. Yeah, so we're still half the price of a Farragut at this point. I keep forgetting to switch the shell ratio over. This is really something that should be standard ratio by default. I don't know why it isn't, but let's see what these things. We're definitely not doing cordite and dunite. We're going with tube powder and TNT. Let's see what these turrets can do. These turrets can... what do we got? Semi-armor piercing shells is gonna be good enough at 5,000 meters, 2.8 inches, yeah. So increased HE should do it, just in case. Well, we do standard ratio, so in case they need to defend themselves against other destroyers, then they've got something to fire. Let's see what the 31 million, coincidence 4, 32 million, that's okay. We don't really need... we don't need a radio, that's fine. How much would it be less if we did coincidence 3? A little. Not making an awful lot of a difference. Let's go coincidence 3. There we go. Okay, so we've got the best mine laying, the best mine laying, the best mine sweeping, and the best depth charges, as well as active sonar. Can we get an inch of armor? No, we get 0.9. Can we? So we'll just do 0.9 inches all around. Forward deck, aft deck, superstructure, conning tower. There we go. They can have 6-inch protection on the side, 3-inch on the top. I bet they can't put anything anyway. Okay, and we end up with 37 million for a with a slight forward weight offset that we can finagle around by just moving the turret a little bit to the aft. The funnel. We'll move it over here, and then we take the rear turret and put that a little bit forward, and there we go. And we are, what have we got? 33 knots, reasonable speed, and a good little corvette with some firepower should it need it. And this is the Niels class of corvette. Now there's no corvette class in game, so this is going to be classified as a destroyer. But let's just keep in mind that these are anti-submarine warfare escort ships, more like sort of destroyer escorts, that sort of thing. So let's go with that. Actually, you know what? We're a little bit early, but we can call this the John C. Butler class of destroyer escort. This is probably about 20 years too early, but I will go with it in loving memory of Taffy 3 and the Battle of Samar. So we've got a little good view, good angle on it. We've got a little destroyer escort, a little brave destroyer escort. There we go. John C. Butler it is. And we're slowly we'll probably start out with 6 of them. We're going to be building more of these as we go, but it's a good start. And we are going to get these going in... we're going to get these going in San Francisco for starters, because the Pacific Fleet is the most likely to be in need of them. Yeah, we've got the money for it. That's fine. So let's increase our contributions to research as well. Yes, this is costly because we were having the fleet at sea. But I think how's our... we've got lots of shipbuilding capacity. I think we're also going to increase the shipyard size in general. How much money do we have? We've got $1 billion at this point, and I think we've got one more battleship coming in 2 months. Yeah, we're good. So let's increase the shipyard size over the next 24 months. There we go. That looks good, and then we're getting somewhere. Good business building warships for other countries, and we've got 8 months to go, so late 22 we'll see if the Venezuelan situation will have been resolved. In June 1922, Lithuania has capitulated to the German Empire. The Axis, the Central Powers, wrong war, the Central Powers are more and more encroaching towards the Soviet territory. Our action in Venezuela hasn't been going unnoticed by the Soviet Union, however, and has put a bit of a dampener on their enthusiasm about the United States. But all in all, we're still relatively positive about things as they go. Losses at the beaches of Venezuela are mounting. Despite the naval bombardment, Venezuelan troops are using guerrilla tactics, hidden emplacements, and all kinds of attacks at night to cause casualties to the landing American forces. And as soon as they're off the beaches, they are often ambushed in the jungle and in the impassable depths of the country. We're still trying to march towards the more fortified positions in the cities, and we will see how this operation is progressing. We certainly cannot afford yet another defeat in South America. After 9 months of hard fighting, the Venezuelan government has given up. Their president has gone into exile, Japanese collaborators have been arrested, and the United States has taken formally control of Venezuela. This will this will give us a foothold in South America, improve our situation in the Caribbean, and hopefully put a dampener on these Japanese efforts of trying to meddle in our affairs and show the world that the United States Navy is not to be messed with.